There's magic in the thread of memory, woven into the very fabric of our lives. Today, I'd like to share a story with you. It's a family story about a man whose hands crafted not just suits, but dreams, and who taught me that belief is the foundation of all success. My grandfather, a master tailor, was more than just a man with a needle and thread. He was an artist, a visionary, and in his own way, a magician. He made suits for the rich, the famous, politicians. But he crafted much more than that. He shaped lives with his quiet wisdom, just as he shaped fabric with his hands. My grandfather's shop was small, but inside it the world felt enormous. Rows of luxurious fabrics lined the walls, and sunlight streamed in through the windows, casting a golden glow on the polished floor. Celebrities and businessmen would come to see him to have their bespoke suits tailored to perfection. But to me, it wasn't the wealth or the fame that made him special. It was the way he moved through his work, like he was painting with fabric, and the quiet confidence in his eyes, as if he knew something the rest of us didn't. One day when I was a child, I sat with him in that shop watching him work. I remember the way his hands seemed to dance as they stitched invisible dreams into the fabric. I was fascinated, not just by his skill, but by his calm, unshakable presence. To me, my grandfather seemed larger than life, a man who could accomplish anything. "Granddad," I asked him one day, "how do you make it all look so easy? How did you become so successful?" He smiled at me, a smile I've never forgotten. It was the kind of smile that carries years of wisdom, of triumphs and failures, of joys and sorrows. "My boy," he said softly, "before you can be successful in anything, you must first believe in the impossible." I looked at him puzzled, not understanding what he meant. Seeing the confusion in my eyes, he reached into his workbench drawer and pulled out a pin and folded on his workbench a bespoke handkerchief he had created. Both simple, unremarkable objects. He held them up as he showed them to me. "These," he said, "are just simple items. But what if I told you that with belief, even these simple items can defy logic?" He handed me both items to inspect, which I did. He then took back the handkerchief, folded it just like this, and asked me to push the pin through it about the center. He then opened the handkerchief, showing me the pin clearly through the handkerchief. Then he looked at me and he said, "Believe," as he carefully held the bottom of the pin away from the clasp. He covered the pin for a moment in the folds of the handkerchief and quickly pulled the still clasped pin right through the fabric. "Grandpa!" I shouted. "You ripped through the handkerchief!" He stared at me for a moment, then slowly opened his hand to reveal the handkerchief was unharmed. "How did you do that?" I gasped. He didn't answer right away. He just looked at me with that same gentle smile and said, "It's not about how, but about believing in what is possible. You must first believe before the world shows you what it can be." One day long ago, I sat here on my workbench, seeing the pin right through the center of a handkerchief. And then I imagined being able to pull that pin away without unclasping it, as if it was a ghost. Pull it right through without damaging the handkerchief. You see, the impossible isn't something to ignore or shy away from. It's something to embrace. The greatest things in life, the things that matter most, begin with a leap of faith. I was stunned. It wasn't just some kind of magic trick. It was a lesson that has stayed with me. My grandfather wasn't showing me a simple illusion. He was showing me the power of belief. From that day on, his demonstration, his words echoed in my heart. He taught me that in everything, whether it's crafting a suit, chasing a dream, or facing a hardship, you must first believe that something greater is possible, even when it seems like the odds are stacked against you. My grandfather is gone now, but his legacy lives on. It lives in every stitch, every thread, every pin. And every time that I think I'm reaching the limits of what's possible, I remember that afternoon in the shop, and I remember the handkerchief. I realize now that success in any form isn't just about skill or knowledge or hard work, though those are all important. It's about having the courage to believe that what seems impossible today can become your reality tomorrow. It's about trusting in the unseen, in the magic that life offers, if only you're willing to reach for it. So years ago, I too stared at a pin through one of my grandfather's handkerchiefs. And I too believed I could pull that pin away as if it was a ghost, without damaging the handkerchief. Believe in the impossible.